We'll try to mix up our approach today. And instead of us being talking heads, I want to make sure that we engage with our international undergraduate students. Again, for the grad students, please feel free to stay. Maybe you'll get a lot of great insights from international undergrads. Some of the questions and some of the responses may be relevant to you, but you're also welcome to join us tomorrow as we have our panel for graduate students. But let me introduce our panelists. So, I will call them based on the picture, and then they will say hi. They turn on.
But hello, everybody. My name is Alexander, and I am a rising senior at Penn. I study economics and international relations. I come from Bulgaria, and I am involved with both the International Student Advisory Board and the Assembly of International Students, where I'm president.
Thanks a lot, Alexander. Alexander is very one of my great partners for our office. He is the current president of Assembly of International Students. So, and also very, very responsible, very proactive partner and as a student. So he's a role model to emulate. Okay, let's go to Andrea Esposito Rubio. Go for it, Andrea. Here, so go for it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea. I am an international student. I'm originally from Panama City, Panama. I am currently in Philly.
Andrea is a Penn scholar, as well as a member of Intercultural Leadership Program. Great volunteer, great partner for our office. Wonderful, wonderful. Let's go to Bruno Bassner. Bruno is joining us for the first time. This is the first time I'm moderating this panel with Bruno. But Bruno, go for it.
Yes, hello, Dr. Rudy. So, as you said, I'm Bruno Bassner. I'm originally from Essen, Germany, but I've actually moved right outside of Philadelphia since I was 6. So I've been in the area for a long time. I'm in Wharton studying statistics and finance, and Alex is my president. So I'm also involved in the Assembly of International Students, in the Wharton Sports Business Club, on the class board, and in the Penn German Society.
Thank you, Bruno. Rohana Golapali, join us. Rohana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rohana. I am a rising senior, and I'm from Gaborone, Botswana. I am studying finance in Wharton and neuroscience in the college, and I'm also involved in AIS. I'm the executive vice president, and apart from that, I have various different involvements. Some are like cultural, like I'm in a South Asian dance group, and another one is like community service based, which is Foundation for International Medical Relief for Children. So pretty long name, but it's a lot of fun work.
Thank you. So Rohana is also the executive vice president of Assembly of International Students. Next one, another one who's very active in Penn Global Mosaic, who's also Penn World Scholar, great dancer, Yulia Solyanik. Go for it, Yulia.
Hi, Dr. Rudy. Hi, everyone. I'm Yulia, and I'm a rising sophomore. So I came to Penn recently, like pretty much like last year. And I was the member of the first cohort for Penn Global Mosaic last year. I'm also a Penn World Scholar, and I'm also involved in Assembly of International Students. And obviously, how Dr. Rudy mentioned, I also dance on campus. But I'm also in college, and I'm doing mathematical economics there. So yeah.
So I have a lot of topics that I will ask you. So I saw Rohana with a beautiful smile. So I will ask Rohana this question, and then maybe I'm calling another student to answer the questions. Rohana will talk about academic rigor and resources. Okay, Penn is very academically rigorous institution. So for the incoming students, listen to this. I want to ask this very, very important question because this is a very basic need for you so that you are able to manage this effectively. So the question I will ask Rohana is, Rohana, I know I'm asking you this question, not just because you're smiling beautifully, but because I know you are really one of those students who really put a lot of academic as well as extracurricular. How do you manage the academic workload at Penn? Do you have any special benchmarking or any successful tips that you can share with our new incoming students? I'm sure they're very curious because Penn is a very social Ivy. And how do you manage the workload? I know you have a very strong GPA, but still, any suggestions? Go for it.
I think for me, it's more important, like it's very work hard, play hard. So I have a chance to like re-energize and recharge up my battery. Because I feel like when I like spend time with my friends or do stuff that I love, like my interests, or passions that I am able to come back and give 200% to my workload. So I think that's very important because I know some people, like, especially when they come as freshmen, they cut out like they'll be cutting out activities or like social life, saying I need to focus on just my classes. But I feel like that sometimes backfires because you also need to like recharge your battery. And then I think a huge part of it is also kind of prioritizing what you need to do when you need to do. And like there will be times where you have deadlines, homeworks, finals, midterms, and they clash with other stuff like your friend's birthday or, for example, a club event or like a social gathering. And you have to kind of realize um how you're going to schedule your time. Maybe you could say, I'm going to start studying a week in advance and then I will attend the social gathering or the event. Otherwise, if you don't plan it out ahead, you'd have to like cancel your social gathering and just prepare for your midterm. And it just kind of takes a lot of planning beforehand and having a good organized calendar schedule. That took me something to learn, like using calendars and having things sorted out. But that's something that I think is really important.
So basically what I gathered from Rohana as a great insight here is planning very well, be organized, and know your priorities. Know your priorities. I think from the get-go, as a first-year student, you have to know your priorities. However, play hard and work hard is also good. No work, all work, and no play. However, that is a very tough thing to balance. How many of you, so again, for the rest of you, have any one of you used specific resources in your lifetime, such as the tutoring center, study groups, if you don't mind talking about how you utilize them to manage the academic rigor? Raise your hand if you have. Okay, Andrea, okay, Alexander, I saw the raise hand first of Alexander, very clear in yellow hand there. Go for it,
Yeah.
Alexander.
I
Which one did you
can
use?
so when I took the writing seminar in freshman year, I made some use of the writing center because, as I think a lot of us probably realize that or at least our professors told us, that we need some help learning how to write the white papers. So they were very helpful. I would recommend making sure that you're wary of major deadlines, for example, because around those deadlines for certain classes, a lot of people will be utilizing like resources like the writing center, and it will be really difficult to get an appointment with anyone there, with any of the tutors. So just planning in advance, trying to go during the off times, like the off weeks. And something else that was really beneficial to me is just going to office hours by TA or professor office hours. Specifically, my example is from, again, for freshman year, when I took math 1410, which is calculus 2. And I don't think I would have been able to do as well as I did in that class if I hadn't gone to my TA office hours. He was absolutely amazing, and honestly, it was a learning experience for everyone. Everyone was in the same boat. It's a difficult class, and that could be said for a lot of classes. So go to your TA office hours.
So again, don't be shy. If you need help, go to a tutoring center. There's also the Weingarten Learning Resource Center. There's also, your professor or there's a TA also. Make sure that you do not hesitate to ask for help. Okay, Andrea, you have anything to add based on what Alex said already?
Yeah, of course. I'm a big promoter of the Weingarten Center. I think at first I struggled a little bit of, finding that balance between like academics or just finding I guess, a structure that really worked for me. And the great thing about the Weingarten is that they have like learning sort of like tool workshops, and they teach you what your best style for like learning is. And also a lot of workshops that really just help you organize yourself and sort of adapt yourself to Penn. I think it's a great resource. I'm a peer advisor for incoming students in their freshman year, and that's something I always tell them, like if they can sign up for any of these workshops, it can be really helpful to just really learn how to tackle the learning experience here at Penn, sort of to go forward, and then it just gets easier. But yeah, I also had a great experience with the writing center. It was great. In Panama, the system, like the educational system, like we really didn't write that many papers. So my first experience sort of like writing an academic paper really happened when I was here at Penn. So I think I always preach the writing center. It's truly great. I had a tutor for the whole semester. So if you can get ahead and sort of, get an appointment on time, I think it can be a really great resource to just meet with someone who has the experience, who's willing to help, who's also a student, who has been in your position. I think it's truly great.
Wonderful. Great, great, great. So again, don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. Those are for you. That's part of your tuition. Enjoy, utilize those resources. Now I have two people who have not spoken. One of them is Yulia and one is Bruno. But I will ask Yulia because Yulia is very much involved in every single thing on campus. So what extracurricular activities or clubs are you involved in? And how has this enhanced your experience? But I will have a follow-up for Bruno based on your answer. Go for it, Yulia. Is you
Wait,
just
hear
there
me
you
now?
go. Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Sorry, could you repeat the question? Because I think my connection just
I know you're very involved. You're one of those people that I've seen so involved in so many activities. So why are you so involved in so many activities? How this enhance your experience? And then after that, I will ask Bruno for a follow-up question on this. Go for it.
Yeah. I think that's a great question, especially for incoming students, because I remember when I was coming to Penn, I was so scared in terms of like finding my place in such a big community. Because coming from a small like boarding school before that, where we had like only like 1,000 people, and coming to Penn where you have more than 20,000 people at the same time, it's like I knew that my main goal was finding my own community within this huge community of like campus students, including undergrads, graduate students, PhD students, and faculty, obviously. So for me, at least, joining different like smaller communities of like, let's say, pre-orientation program, clubs, or some other organizations on campus were basically a way for me to connect with people there and kind of get this individual approach with people in a sense, and also connecting with faculty at the same time. So for me personally, I knew that like coming to Penn, I really wanted to dance because that was my passion since I was like 4 years old. And I knew if I don't just continue doing it, I'm just gonna like, I just can't balance my work life and like, I mean, just social life and just like in general, like some extracurricular activities without having dance on my list. So I was looking through Penn Club's website, which is actually a great resource for like looking for clubs and activities on campus. But I was looking through the website, making a list of like clubs I would want to audition to, and then going there and also talking to people who are directly involved in the clubs were a good like resource for me to find out more about like the environment there, about like the commitment they have, about like the events they organize. And it was kind of like an outlet for me to connect with more people, meet more people, especially upperclassmen who have experience being like on campus and living here. So so basically for me, like joining those communities was a way for me to like feel like I belong here and kind of like finding my place on campus, but also like having this work-life balance of like not just studying and like doing my homework 24/7, but also having some time for me to like explore my other interests outside of academics.
Thank you. So Bruno, I know you're also one of those. These five panelists are also they're very, 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 very busy. They're so involved in so many things. But Bruno, you have the question that will address this particular concern. What advice would you give to the new international students who like to be involved in so many activities? What piece of advice, wisdom from Bruno Bassner?
Well, what I can say is that one of the biggest pieces of advice that I have for any incoming students is when you first come to campus, there's all this excitement, there's all this energy, and it's really just put yourself out there. Take the effort, go to events, meet people, and I can give you a great example of how, that mentality at the start of the year really affected my whole entire college experience. So I was actually in a class with Mr. AIS President Alexander Krastev, and he told me to come to the AIS, so the Assembly of International Students info session. And I went, and honestly, I was a little underwhelmed. I wasn't that excited to join. And yeah, and then Alex told me in class again, hey, so are you gonna join? And I was like thinking in my mind, I'm not so sure, but you know what? Let me give it a shot. Let's see what can happen. Well, now 2 years later, I'm his internal vice president. I've made so many friends through AIS. And honestly, had I been lazy and just said, you know what, I don't really want to try this out, I don't really want to take that extra energy to do it, then I think my entire college experience would have been completely different.
So
So
Bruno, I know you were enticed by Mr. AIS president, but are there any activities as FMAS that you're involved in? And how do you temper? How do you put boundaries in that? Because studies first is important. I know Rohana said about hard work, hard play. But how do you manage that? When do you say, no, I will do this? Yes, I will do that. How do you manage those?
well, I think it's very important to make the distinction that we are students first. No club should necessarily be taking priority over your studies, and that really comes with effective planning. As Rohana was mentioning earlier, I don't know how I didn't use GCal before I came to college, but without it, I would be dead. It's impossible to be able to use your time effectively without having any semblance of planning.
So Bruno,
And
does
really,
everyone know what a GCO means? Do you think in
Google
this?
Calendar, yeah, or just
Yeah.
any calendar whatsoever, just
Okay. So
scheduling.
Google GCOW is Google Calendar. I'm sure many of you know. I don't even know that's the name GCOW. So I know something today. So go use your Google Calendar, right?
Yeah.
But Penn is a it's an Ivy school. Like everyone is you might think that everyone is so intelligent. You become a small fish in a big pond. But you are yourself. Don't compare yourself to other people, right? Know your boundaries, know what you can do, know what your limits are, but academics is very important. So Mr. Bruno, thank you for your day. I'll be back. The next question is a free for all. Maybe I'll take two answers here. And that's the campus life community, right? What is campus life at Penn? How would you describe campus life at Penn? Maybe describe it briefly, you know. How do you suggest students be integrated? Penn is big. Penn is so many students all over the world. Sometimes it's so daunting, so challenging. What are your recommendations? How do you integrate yourself smoothly? The five of you have done it wonderfully. Who wants to take this question? It's a free for all. The first one that I can see, oh, Rohana beat everyone to the buzzer. Go for it, Rohana. And there's the
I think
second.
the
Those are the
best
first two. Okay, go Rohana, go for it.
I think the best way to like experience the Penn culture and like the social side of Penn is kind of what Bruno said, but I'll explain it a different way. Is like putting yourself out there and trying stuff that you wouldn't have tried in high school, maybe. Like I know, like personally, I met my best friends and my roommates just randomly on the bridge from Locust. Like because I met people through people through people, most of who are just acquaintances now, but I just tried to meet as many people as I could during orientation, and that led me to meet my group of people who I lean on. And initially, when you come to Penn, I know it seems hard because, especially I feel like as an international, you feel like you're in a different place, out of your comfort zone. You're with all these new people from very different backgrounds and very different way of lives. And so it sometimes feels intimidating and you feel that everybody else has it figured out. But I would say the one thing about Penn is that nobody has it figured out. Everybody seems like they do, but everybody's learning as they're going and they're trying new things as they're going. So I would say when you come to Penn, I would say first try to involve yourself maybe in your college house, because I know a lot of freshmen are going to be having, especially undergrads will be having their college house at Hill, Quad, of like Fisher or where I don't remember which part of the quad is closed right now. But you'll have your college house. Go to the events, go like talk to the people on your floor. Sign up for pre-orientation programs, Penn Global Mosaic. Like I had some of the best time at my pre-orientation program. I'd say go like for SAC fair, talk to people on Locust Walk, talk to people in your class. You just never know who you're going to meet where. And I think the best way to do that, I feel, is like try to go to as many events as you can in your first few weeks at Penn, because I think as a semester goes on, it gets so much busier and you cannot do that anymore. But in the first few weeks, you have so much free time that you can explore and build those relationships.
Thank you. And Alex, anything to add?
Yeah, that was a really exhaustive answer, Rohana. But honestly, I have something to add. I would say that apart from the first few weeks, yes, everyone is really eager to meet in the first few weeks, but be open to friendships that are going to develop, in your second year, your third year at Penn. It's you never know when you're gonna meet great people. I would say joining, this is kind of going back to the previous question about extracurriculars. It is one of the best ways to really integrate into the Penn culture, into to find friends. I would say extracurriculars in general are an integral part of college experience, almost as important as Bruno said. Like, still classes are more important, you're a student first, but extracurriculars are there, right? They still define who you are. So it's that is something that is quite crucial. And just again, the amount of people that I randomly talk to when I'm walking between buildings on Locust Walk is quite insane over a single day. So I'd say just being outside a lot is also a way where you randomly run into people all the time, especially ones that you know from your clubs or classes. And yeah, that's a way to really feel welcome and integrated at Penn.
Thank you. Yulia, I know you raised your hand, but I wanted to cover a lot of topics. You'll be the next question. You're the next person I will ask. So again, you can see that both Rohana and Alexander talk about being involved and get go. Again, it goes back to work-life balance, study-life balance, right? I agree with Alexander that studying and studying and studying, but you are not seeing people, you're not socializing, that can dampen your spirit, and that can impact your academic success also in the long term. So again, it's a balance. These 5 students are a testament to balancing, or else they will not even be here to talk about it. They're really speaking from their experience. Now, Yulia, I promise you I will ask you a question, but I think I will open this floor. And the question is more related to cultural differences. I know Bruno grew up in Essen, Germany, but he came to the United States. So cultural adaptation for grads and undergrads are very different. But the question here is, for the international students who are undergrads, is this a misnomer that they said that undergrad students are more adjusted to the culture of the United States or to Penn? Is that true or not? I will call on someone who has a very interesting cultural experience that's, wow, I didn't experience that. This is so different from home. And I would like to hear an anecdotal, a story that can really impact that you thought you're set, you're an undergrad, you're a cosmopolitan citizen, a global citizen, and then suddenly this caught you off guard, this cross-cultural experience. So you never got that question earlier, but I want a story from one of you, any one of you. Or am I validating that stereotype that undergrads are more settled and more adjusted? Can you invalidate that stereotype assumption that undergrad students from other countries are more adjusted than the grad students? Okay, Bruno, of all, I didn't expect this from Bruno, but go for it. Go for it, Mr. Brasner.
Yeah, I think I'm adjusted to answer this question because a lot of my students, or a lot of my friends, not students, are international, a lot are domestic, and also through the Penn German Society, there's a lot of master's students there. And I think the main difference I see between undergraduates and master's students is that the master's students don't really have as much of a cultural, extracurricular landscape that the undergrads do. So as Rohana and as Alex mentioned, at the start of the year, everyone is talking with everyone. There's a huge buzz on campus. I think that really is key for having a very easy way to make communities, make friends coming in as an undergraduate student. I think everyone going into university, whether you're an international student or not an international student, obviously has this adjustment period. But for international students, it can be much more drastic the shift in cultural differences. But what I'll say is that a great tactic is to always find someone who is sharing your similar experiences. So there's a large international student population at Penn. There's people from every country of the earth and with similar experiences to you that you can seek out and that can help you through the process. And at the end of the day, none of us know what we're doing. That's what Rohana was saying. It's really, you shouldn't feel bad if it takes you a bit longer to adjust, because we're all still adjusting. I think it's just part of life and it's completely normal. So don't
What,
feel
Mr.
scared.
Bassner, what if the experience of this person in front of you has some very different experience from you? Never traveled, never seen the world. Will you still, how do you maximize that interaction with that person? Because we have some
Well,
people that feel like that. I've never been to another country. I have never seen an international student before, or this is the first time I'm traveling, and this is so hard for me.
yeah, well, I mean, you can talk about your differences. There's nothing wrong with not having traveled or not being in a different country. I know for
Mhm.
many international students, they've never been in the US themselves. And I don't know, there's always some similarities. We're all humans. There's always differences that you can learn from other people. So yeah, I think putting yourself in a category of international student and domestic student can be dangerous, in the sense that you can just tend to group with only other international students or only other
Yeah.
domestic students. You should definitely try and, hear from other people's perspectives and not just isolate yourself into one of the groups, even if they're completely different from a background perspective, because
Thank you.
that's really just how you're
Julia,
gonna learn.
Julia wants to add something. Go for it, Julia. This is your chance.
Yeah, I actually feel like I have a very good story to tell in terms of that. Because I know that people, especially when you're talking to someone coming from a very different background with different experiences, you can jump into a conversation having a lot of assumptions that might actually prevent you from getting close with a person. And I feel like that's the main like goal for an incoming like, international student or like whoever is coming on campus. Just like taking those assumptions aside whenever you're talking to someone and actually being so open-minded to listen and like learn from them, because learning about cultural differences is actually one of my hobbies. Like it was one of my hobbies this year, and like just like realizing how different we are, but at the same time, even though we seem to be different, we have so many things in common. And I had an instance when during Pan Global Mosaic, the pre-orientation program, I met a girl from Nepal. And honestly speaking, Ukraine and Nepal have nothing common in terms of cultural stuff. We didn't have even common like extracurricular activities. We didn't have common academic interests or anything of that sort. And I remember in the beginning, we had a very quick conversation, and throughout the year, we grew just very close to each other that now we're going to be roommates. And so throughout this year, like just going through all of the stuff together at Penn and figuring out like the United States, the Penn campus, our own interests and like different communities on campus, and just going through this entire experience together made us super close. And I remember coming to Dr. Rudy's office like back in April together with this girl from Nepal. And I remember Dr. Rudy saying that like back in the day during pre-orientation program, he least expected us two to become so close throughout the year because we seem to be so different. But that's the cool thing about it, because you never know who's going to be your next friend. So just like coming into those environments and just having those like assumptions, like being so super far away from you and just being so open-minded to meeting people, I think that would make a huge difference.
Thank you, Julia. Our students have been mentioning Global Mosaic. If you apply for it and you were selected, you will have a great, one of the best experience in your life. Global Mosaic is coming to a theater near you August 17 to 19. We will embark on an outside place and you will engage with many students from all over the world and students from the United States. If you did not apply or was not selected, there's also the Intercultural Leadership Program, another chance for you to be part of ILP. You can apply for that, but that's also selected because you'll be also not interacting with undergrads like yours, but also the graduate students from all over the world. So a lot of opportunities. Now let's dive into How many of you have stories about housing and roommates when you were first year students? Any other experience? Andrea, talk about it. Go for
Oh
it.
my gosh, I love this question. I am so close to my roommate. We have been living together for the past 3 years.
Who's your
going on
roommate?
for
Where is
4.
your roommate from?
My roommate is from the US. She's from Philadelphia. And
Okay.
just like Yulia was saying, like we both had such different backgrounds coming into Penn. We both went random for starters. She decided that she didn't want to live with someone she already knew from high school because a lot of her friends were coming into Penn. And me being from Panama, I really didn't know who else from my country was going to be coming into Penn along with me. So we both decided to go random. We were both in the Benjamin Franklin Scholars Program, so we were living in Hill together. And even though we had so many like differences, you know, she has like 2 sisters. She had only been living with them. I didn't have any siblings, and I don't know, I had never like lived in the US before. We connected so well, and we were both able to really learn from each other's experiences and appreciate those differences. Like we have, like I said, we have been living together for so long, and I think the key for having like a good experience, especially when you're going random, is really communication and trying to understand where the other person is coming from, especially since I'm international, she's American, and we had like very different backgrounds. I think that was key to having the relationship that we have now. And like Yulia was saying, like you never know who you're gonna become friends with. For example, she had never been outside of the US, and we just became so close over the past 3 or 4 years. We have lived on campus for 2 years, and we're about to like renew our lease for living together for our senior year together. And when I was in my year abroad, like she went to visit me to Scotland not once, twice. And we got to travel around Europe together for a little bit, you know. So she had the opportunity to leave the US for the first time, you know, as friends, and it was a really great experience. But yeah, I think a recommendation that I have for incoming students, especially if you are going random and you maybe live with a local student or American student, is just to really be open to learning about this person, because they can really be, I guess, like your door to learning more about the US. I don't think I would have been able to know Philly or the greater Philly community in the way that I have had it not been for Katie. So it's just really great to be open to those experiences and really learning from American students, even though, like, you know, there might be some differences. I love Katie, she's amazing. And every opportunity that I have to talk about her, you know, I will.
Thank you, Andrea. I can see the smile on your face that you're really enjoying. You enjoyed having Katie as a roommate. Now, all of you have lived in the college houses, and the undergrads will be living in the college house. If you have very brief tips, one tip that you want to give our current students listening, the freshmen living in college houses, what should they be aware of? Raise your hand and I'll call on you. What do you remember about the college that first time you enter quad or hill and enter your room and stay in that room for one semester? Things that they should know that you wish you had known. Alexander, go for it.
Yeah, honestly, I don't know how I didn't quite expect this, considering how communal and large these college houses are at Penn. I mean, there's hundreds of students in each one of the quad like sections in Hill or whichever other. I would say like be aware that it's going to be in a lot of situations it's going to be pretty loud because there's people going in and out all of the time. So it's I am someone who loves meeting people, but also I need you know some time, some peace and quiet every once in a while. So college houses, especially like freshman dorms, are probably not going to be the quietest spaces on campus. I learned that very quickly. Took me 2 days. I just, as I said, I don't know how I didn't really think about that beforehand.
So it's too
Yeah,
loud, Alexander. Where did you go?
I
For
wouldn't
your
say it's
and
too
quiet, peace
loud.
and
I would
quiet.
say it's yeah, but what I would say is, especially if you need to study, I just would go to either the library, or if you live in the quad, right across it is the academic research building. I know a lot of people go there to study. It is one of the quietest buildings on campus if you want to get some quiet work done. But Van Pelt Library is also pretty close to all the freshman college houses, so definitely recommend those.
Great, wonderful. Andrea, another word of wisdom.
Yes, I think something that everyone should know about the academic housing is how many opportunities you have to meet other people. And this is a great step, especially if you're starting to put yourself out of your comfort zone, just like Rohana was saying. I think this is a great opportunity for you to really start meeting people. I don't know if some people will believe me, but I am, or used to be, a more very introverted person. And I found it really hard to make friends at first. And I don't know, I think I had a great experience at Hill, loved Hill. When I was telling my array that for the first time, I was like fully immersed in the States, like my first language is Spanish. And I had not been speaking Spanish for like over 2 weeks. And I was just, telling my array, it's like, oh, I miss speaking Spanish with someone other than my parents. And he literally went to every single person on our hallway, sorry. And began to ask like who was Hispanic, who was Latino, who spoke Spanish. And he brought us all together and was like, go on, speak Spanish, And he really made the effort to make us connect with each other. And he would always have like all of these events for us to get to know each other, to just socialize and really get out of our rooms. I think that's something that I loved about Hill. So if you're going to go to Hill, I think you're going to have a great time. But this is like the best place to have or be able to take that first step into maybe overcoming some shyness and some sort of like introvertedness. I don't know if that's a word. But I know it really helped me really step out of my comfort zone on that first year because I was very introverted. And that's how I got to meet many of my friends.
Thank you. My question. So new students, listen to this, because my question will be about career and internship. So if you're not listening, listen now, because this will be important for you. A lot of our students in the panel have been involved in career and internship opportunities. I know, I will guarantee 100% that's one of your basic questions you will ask us when you arrive. How can I garner that first internship or that career opportunity in the United States? So my question to our panelists is, how did you navigate the career and internship opportunities? What I know Alexander, for example, is doing an internship now in Arizona. I know Bruno has done an internship in so many ways. Rohana, and share your experience. What are your tips for navigating? So my question is always tips, best practices. How do you navigate looking for a career experience or an internship, especially with the limitations for international students? Raise your hand. Maybe Alexander, maybe go for it, Alex, and then I'll give a chance to someone who has not talked a lot. But go for it, Alex. Start rolling the ball.
Yeah, I can say just the kind of the basic tips I would give everyone that I myself should have really started following sooner. Apart from the handshake, which is the platform that Career Services uses, the Penn platform, where you can look for internship and jobs. I would also say navigating on LinkedIn, making sure your LinkedIn profile is up to speed, very updated, neat and tidy, has your experiences, updating your resume. And I would say just going to Career Services to have someone look over your resume, or even like talking to your friends, because I think honestly they can be pretty candid as well about your resume. They can say, oh, your resume is pretty bad, or your resume is pretty good. And I would say those are kind of the basic tips that I would have. Just make sure you're at that base level. First of all, you need to have that resume ready, and you need to also know where to look. And if you're someone who's more interested in research, there's other opportunities at Penn. I myself was not really involved in research, so I'm probably not the best one to say, but I know there's I forget, there's Curve. And actually, yeah, I should pass it on to Andrea and Julia for that question, because I know they were very involved in that.
Okay, so I will only take one, because I will open the floor to our students in the room to ask questions and interact with you. So who wants to take that? Andrea, will you be willing Julia to talk, or Julia, will you be willing to give it to Andrea? Let's practice the
Julia, you can go ahead.
the beauty of compromise. So
Okay,
Yulia, you were given the voice. Go for it.
Yeah, I feel like as a coming, like I'm an incoming sophomore, right? So I still have a fresh experience in mind. And the biggest struggle for me personally was having this additional like problem of not knowing 100% what major I want to pursue. So for me, at least like pursuing my career it was mostly like figuring out what I actually like and what I actually don't like. So it's kind of like a trial and error approach in terms of like trying all of the different opportunities given on campus and then seeing what you enjoy and what you don't, and then just crossing them out of the list. So this summer currently I'm doing PERM, which is Penn Undergraduate Mentorship Program, and I'm working on a political science research project. And for context, I've never done political science before. So there's so many different opportunities for you to like just delve into new fields and like experience like this work also with faculty and having this more professional dynamics in a sense, and seeing if this is a field that you would want to pursue in the future. But obviously, if you're more set on what you want to do in the future, it might be a bit easier, question mark, I don't know. But there are definitely so many different other opportunities. And for example, I know my current roommate is doing GRIP, which is a global research internship program, also a great resource given by Penn, where you can apply and do an internship abroad, fully covered, and then just like exploring not just the culture, but also more professional side of it all, and live in a different country for like a month or even more. So that's a very great resource to look into. And there are so many other like opportunities, not just like studying abroad, but also like on campus research with faculty, and so many different labs you can be involved in. So depending on the field you're looking into, it might be different, but always reaching out to upperclassmen and reaching out to faculty is the key to like kind of like uncovering those opportunities, because there are so many things on campus and it's very hard to manage all of them at the same time and knowing what exactly applies to you. But talking to people in the field you're interested in is always kind of like a stepping stone for you to figure out what Penn has to offer.
Thank you so much. With this, Mike, I don't know technically, if we're able to give all the the participants in the room to turn on their cameras if they have questions, is that possible technically? Or should we rely on the Q&A for this? Because I want to diversify. I don't want this to be just talking heads. That's my philosophy. I want to get to know the students also. Who are the new students? Are we able to put them in the Zoom room? Penn, you cannot be shy. So I want to start now. Are they able to show their faces? Or not? Just say yes or no so that I don't have to hope for this. Is it a possibility?
Rudy, I'm trying to explore the options, but it seems like it's very difficult to do so because it was a preset.
Okay. If not, put your questions in the Q&A and so that we can ask the students, our panelists, some questions. Because last year we were able to turn on the cameras for everyone where hundreds of students will join us. But don't be shy. This is an opportunity for you to show that you're ready for Penn. Any questions?
But I can allow the students to talk.
Yeah, that would be great. I like the students to talk, at least hear their voices. So who wants to say? There's a question from Kylie Pan. I like that, Kylie. I'm glad. Go for it, Kylie. Ask that question so that we don't have to read it. Let's hear your voice. And where are you from, Kylie? Where are you from? Kylie, where are you from?
Hi, I'm from Canada, but right now I'm in China.
Okay.
So my question was about what we just discussed about professional opportunities. So you mentioned very briefly that there's some barriers for international students to finding jobs and internships, and I was wondering what specifically those barriers were.
I think it depends on, so Kylie, I'm more referring to sometimes some companies are not able to host or have students join their companies because of immigration limitation. But I will rely on my colleague Donna Steinfeld to talk about this because she does this on a day-to-day work. So Donna, what are the challenges sometimes when it comes to students getting internships in terms of their work experience being international student? Go for it, Donna. Why don't you address that straight from your mouth?
So in regards to, I mean, there's going to be work authorization limitations that our international students will face in regards to possibly having be able to do, let's say, a summer internship that will lead into full-time employment. It's going to vary from program to program. So the best thing is to kind of be familiar with your curriculum, what your options are going to be, what your program allows, to know what you'll be able to do. Let's say, for example, whether it's better to focus on, internships that are in the US versus outside the US, where you might not have a restriction. Let's say it's your freshman summer. Maybe it's better to, if you're doing something at home or gathering more experience on campus at Penn, for example. So a lot of it's going to depend on that. I know I heard people mention utilizing career services. Career Services has a lot of resources online. Make sure to take a look at that to help with your planning. They're going to be able to give you the advice in the actual search and looking for internships. And what we can do is support you in regards to, okay, now how, what's going to be possible in regards to working in the US. But so it's kind of going to be a two-pronged approach where actually searching for and knowing what's out there and what's going to be possible and the timing and the steps to take to have that.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you, Kylie, for being able to ask this question. Looking forward to seeing you in August. Any more other questions? Please don't feel, Kate Ann, where you from? Where are you calling from, Kate? Go for it.
I'm Kate, and I'm originally from South Korea, but I've been living in South Africa.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And my question is, I know, especially as international students, like myself, many of us don't have like other friends who are also going to Penn or other like upperclassmen that we know of. And I know that's like a really big adjusting like resource for a lot of students. So I was wondering, like, did that affect their kind of adjustment process for international students, or like how are ways we could overcome that?
Very good question, Kate. So for the panelists, are there anyone of you who don't know anyone at all, with zero acquaintance? And how did you navigate that? Who among you came to Penn without anyone? No upper class person? You have no friends? Anyone? Oh, Andrea. Andrea is that person who has no friend. So Andrea, go for it.
Yeah, I actually didn't know anyone when I was coming into Penn. I had no upperclassmen to guide me. My school wasn't even in the Common App when I was applying, so we really had to create a profile from scratch. So that was something that I had to begin navigating while I was still in high school, having like the administrators create a profile for it. And really just coming with no guidance. I think it was great to have that community of, I guess, international students who had already been through that and who you can sort of relate to in that sense. And also having like great people like your RA, your pre-major, not your pre-major advisors, your peer advisors are also a great resource to sort of connect you with the Penn campus. I had an amazing peer advisor. His name was Omar Husni. He graduated 2 years ago. And he was just really helpful in, advising me to just try and step out of my comfort zone. And also Panama doesn't have that many students. I think there's 3 or 4 of us in my class, 2 in the upper, like in 2026, 1 in 2027. And I think there are 2 coming in. So just really finding your people, who is from Panama and just sticking together. At least in my case, I think I see all of the students, or at least the ones in my class, at least once a week. And once we realize, oh, we're all from the same country, we sort of, had to come through the same experience of really not knowing who was here before or having that much of a big community of Panamanian students here. We just really learned how to stick together. And now, we welcome the upcoming students here and show them that, yes, you do have a community here. We're here for you. We come from the same place that you do, and we are here to guide you in this transition.
And Kate, AIS, for example, will sponsor the welcome on August 21 in the afternoon. Make sure that you show up there. You'll be seeing all these smiling faces. That's your first connection to the university. You will get tired. People will reach out to you in the college house, whether AIS, this is International Student Advisory Board, if you're part of the Global Mosaic, if you join the ILP, you join ISO, NSO, you will be saying, well, too many people I know now. And before you know it, everyone is holding your hands, giving your, giving you a wonderful welcome to Penn. Bruno, anything to add? Or I know you
Yeah.
raised your.
Another great tip for me that was very helpful before coming to Penn was actually going on Instagram and looking at the Penn commits pages. So during the summer, a lot of students will post one paragraph profiles of themselves, and most of the people there are very eager to, talk to incoming students and reach out. So I know there's a couple other South Africans coming to Penn for you, Kate, and also a lot of Koreans. So messaging them, under that shared pretext, will probably have a relationship before coming into Penn. I know that's what I did. And then first day at NSO, some of the people that I've been messaging over the summer, we met up for lunch or dinner, and those people are still friends to this day. So that's another hidden tip, I guess.
Thank you, Bruno. Well, we have reached the hour, 11 o'clock. Time flew so fast. But I would like to thank our wonderful student panelists. And I will, no favoritism here. I'll thank them based on who I see on the screen. Andrea Esposito Rubio. You will see more of Andrea because she's a Penn World Scholar, but you will see her in the Global Mosaic this coming August if you're part of it. And maybe ILP and maybe ISAB, who knows? Bruno Bassner. Bruno is big on this World Cup, all those kind of things related to sports. He likes sponsoring and doing that. He's also a Penn Global Mosaic leader this year. So this is very exciting. Internal Vice President of Assembly of International Students. Yulia Solyanik, of course. You will see Yulia because she is navigating, being very active with Finns for NSO this coming year. Hopefully, she will be part of Global Mosaic. If there's a lot of conflict with Finns and Global Mosaic this year, of course, Rohana Sri Golapali, Excel VP, another wonderful. She's very good in all of this. Experience with you, very well experienced when it comes to navigating the Penn experience. Alexander Krastev, last but not the least, the Mr. President of AIS, wonderful guy. He was a former student leader of Global Mosaic, but he will be a great resource for you. He's the big upper class now, so he will have a lot of wisdom. But also, I would like to thank my colleagues, Donna Steinfeld, Yu Hong He, Kelly Ma, and Michael Kelly. Wherever you are, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I'll see you tomorrow and see you on campus come August. Say hi to us. Now you see our faces. Please say hi when you're walking on campus or visit us in our office. Thank you, everyone. See you tomorrow. Bye-bye.